With 2020 rapidly coming to a close and more anime MMOs being announced, I feel like it was all but time for this, right? Time to talk about anime MMORPGs. MMOs that we can no doubt look forward to trying out next year in 2021, at least in some capacity. I did a video like this back at the beginning of 2018, I think. That video in specific went on to garner 720,000 views. That goes a ways to show exactly how thirsty we are for anime MMOs, right? Before we go any further though, I do want to really quickly preface this by stating that we have been streaming MMORPGs over on Twitch at twitch.tv/MMOBite every Tuesday, every Saturday, and every Sunday at 3 p.m. EST. We would honestly love to have you guys come over and join us as we continue to play through all of these different MMOs together. But you know what, let's not waste any more time here and just go right ahead and jump on in. I'm gonna go ahead and start this off with Tower of Fantasy. Why? Because not only did I just do a video on it earlier this week, but after their most recent trailer, I'm hyped. This is an absolutely beautiful looking anime MMO that obviously takes some inspiration from the most recent Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. I know there were quite a few comments regarding this in the video I did, and I know you guys can see it too. It's like Breath of the Wild and Phantasy Star Online 2 had a child. This is an absolutely gorgeous looking title. Not only do the character models look incredibly impressive, and yeah, you can edit what's important when creating your character, but the environments that make up the world look fantastic and are actually completely open world. Yeah, Tower of Fantasy is an open world MMO, not an instanced MMO like Soul Worker or PSO2. It will also utilize full complete action combat as is shown within the trailer. It looks as though it will be a fairly story-driven MMO if the trailers I've seen are anything to go off of, which is perfect for me. I love a good story in an MMO, and this is usually something that is sorely missing in games for me. Gran Saga has had 3 different trailers released for the game as of this moment, and we've been shown quite a bit of what the game looks and plays like. This is a very different looking game to Tower of Fantasy, as where Tower of Fantasy kind of looks like a mixture of Breath of the Wild and PSO2. This game looks much more like a Tales of game, Tales of Zestiria or Tales of Arise more specifically. And you know what? That works for me, as I am a huge Tales of fan. Symphonia, Vesperia, Fantasia, those are 3 of my favorite JRPGs still to date. Along with Suikoden 1 and 2, Star Ocean Till the End of Time, Legend of Dragoon, Final Fantasy 8 and 9. But I mean, I have like a plethora of different favorite JRPGs, so. But I mean, like, I promise they're all really, really good games. The game definitely looks impressive. It has high quality looking special effects, and the areas that we've been shown actually look beautiful. Gran Saga is planned to be a completely open world MMORPG, much like Tower of Fantasy. At the same time, we've been shown that the game utilizes a form of world map like you'd find in older JRPGs, which is something that does not in any way work with an open world. But there's only been a single instance of that, and it could have been a minigame or some kind of fast travel or something completely different. Combat is going to be complete action, which seems to be the direction the genre has shifted over the last couple years, and from what I've seen of the combat, it looks very smooth and very high quality. This is a title that was slated to release in 2020, but with what's going on in the world right now, it is a safe bet to assume that it is probably delayed into sometime next year. I did a video at the beginning of this year regarding Project BBQ because Nexon in their 4th quarter 2019 financial report listed that the game would be launching in 2020 in some form. It could have been an alpha test, it could have been a beta test or an early access test, who knows. While once again this has likely been delayed due to what's going on in the world right now, I feel as though it's the perfect opportunity to talk about it. Project BBQ is kind of like a sequel to the Dungeon Fighter Online MMO, but unlike Dungeon Fighter, which is an instance dungeon crawler, Project BBQ features a large, seamless world filled with large open world maps and instance dungeons. This is a very interesting change of direction, especially considering the team behind Project BBQ are the very same people behind Dungeon Fighter who have experience in this area. Graphically, the game looks stunning. Seeing the character run through all of these different environments is a thrill for the eyes. It's worth noting that what we're seeing is likely dungeon content though, as the areas feel fairly linear for an open world game. The combat, much like Dungeon Fighter, looks fast, it looks smooth, it looks really flashy, and that's what we want out of a game like this. We want a fast-paced, open-world Dungeon Fighter MMO, and thankfully it seems as though that's what we're going to get. I mean, obviously, I couldn't go without including this here, as this is by far the most anticipated anime MMORPG that I have pretty much ever seen, and is perhaps the most anticipated MMO of 2020 and 2021. My Blue Protocol videos have gone on to garner millions of views total after all. If that isn't a sign that we're ready for the game, I don't know what is. Blue Protocol is an open world MMORPG, just like Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, and Blade and Soul. It utilizes segregated zones with small loading screens between the large environments, and the areas we visited during the closed beta looked incredible. I have not seen an anime MMO like that ever. It reminded me of the Saga RPGs, and I was in awe every time I made it to a new area. The combat in the game was complete action, with some abilities looking absolutely incredible, for the mage anyway. Everyone during the stream agreed that I had to go Archer because people know full well that I absolutely loathe archers in MMOs. They are always the most boring class to play. And you know what? In Blue Protocol, that is pretty much exactly the same. It is, yeah, granted, my abilities were still pretty fun considering it was an archer and having the ability to freely aim everywhere was all good, but like, the mage had abilities like it could crack open the sky and meteors would fall down, literally engulfing everything within the It was incredible, and I didn't get to play that because the chat had agreed without my knowledge that I was going to go Archer. So when I had asked them, literally, because there were 2,500 people watching us stream that, literally there were hundreds of people per second just spamming Archer. So yeah, thank you guys for that experience. I will forever be in your debt. And like Tower of Fantasy, yes, you can edit your character's assets in character creation, which is actually quite detailed. Here's one none of us ever saw coming. Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. With the recent release of Episode 4 and the Steam launch of PSO2 onto Steam, we were given both the announcement and the trailer for PSO2 New Genesis, a brand new MMORPG set within the PS2 verse. While PSO2 is a hub-based MMO, having hundreds of players occupy the hub in space and depart on missions together, New Genesis is going to offer large open areas for players to explore, with larger parties and significantly more players allowed within each area. And the areas look so damn good, especially when you compare it to the dated visuals of PSO2, which, you know, while they do hold up pretty well in 2020, has been a large turnoff for a lot of potential players. New Genesis is a departure from the look and feel of PSO2, with both PSO2 and New Genesis getting a complete graphical overhaul, taking the game in a very different direction to the base PSO2 game. The combat is also getting overhauled, and let me tell you, the trailer makes the combat look and feel absolutely fantastic. I have always thought that PSO2 both looked and played well, but knowing that this is what the game could look like and play like, yeah, I'm excited. The game will have an emphasis on story still, different characters, it'll have a different focus, and, well, I mean, it's a whole new game. What's there not to be excited about? I was tempted to mention Temtem in this list, as technically Temtem is still in early access, but let's be real here. Early access is essentially the equivalent of an incomplete buggy launch, but it is still, in essence, a launched game, and thus does not belong in this list. You know what does though? Its main competitor, DokeV. While we haven't really heard much in the way of, well, anything really, I do want to note that both DokeV and Crimson Desert are in development, with DokeV actually being scheduled to release in some form next year. DokeV takes heavy inspiration from Yokai Watch if you've either watched the anime or played through the games. While both are technically ripoffs of Pokemon, they both have their place and both have enough unique aspects to make them their own game, completely independent of Pokemon. In DokeV, you take on the role of a master, a tamer, the collector who goes about collecting Dokkavi, little creatures each with their own unique special abilities, and, well, you know, we take them into battle and we make them fight one another, aiding in the further capturing of and enslavement of, well, you know, us after being sucked up into our spirit vacuum thing. Yeah, there are no Pokeballs, there are no Tem cards, it's Luigi's vacuum. We don't really have much else in the way of information right now either. Is it going to be an open world MMORPG? Will the combat be tab target, or will we possess a Dokkavi ourselves? How many Dokkavi will there be? Dokkavi is scheduled to enter beta testing this year in 2020, but again, like every other game, it was likely delayed into next year, with the release coming a little ways after the beta tests are over. This is an MMO that will be launching globally, and I'm very excited to see another creature collecting MMO. And there we have it. Those are 6 upcoming anime MMORPGs that I think are definitely definitely going to require our attention next year. Yeah, some of these might only be available within their country of origin for the time being, an example being Bandai Namco having announced that while they're definitely interested in a global release, Japan does come first, but that doesn't mean that we won't be able to access them and play them until they inevitably come on over to the West. And yes, with Project BBQ being the only exception to a confirmed Western release, every other MMO is going to be released globally at one point or another. This year has proven to be a very promising, very hopeful year for anime fans. We've had several announcements made that all look very promising, very exciting, and that is disregarding other co-op anime RPGs, normal anime games, of which there look to be plenty of. Yeah. The future's looking pretty damn bright right now, and I could not be more excited to tackle the new year. What anime MMORPG are you most looking forward to playing next year? Let me know down in the comments below, and let's talk about it. Anyway guys, that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.